The Tesla's dashboard went dark at exactly 11:47 p.m., the digital clock freezing mid-blink as Victoria Bennett coasted onto the gravel shoulder. She tried the ignition 4 times. The engine refused to cooperate, offering only silence where $60,000 of German engineering should have roared to life. Outside, the Colorado mountain pass stretched endlessly in both directions, beautiful in daylight, but menacing under a moonless November sky. Tori stepped out into air cold enough to sting her throat. Her Armani suit, perfectly appropriate for the Denver boardroom, where she'd closed a $40 million acquisition 8 hours earlier, provided zero protection against the 2-degree mountain chill. Her phone showed 1 bar, then none, then 1 again before settling on a useless emergency calls only message. She laughed once, sharp and bitter. This morning, she'd commanded a conference room of 40 executives, her presentation slides dismantling competitors' arguments with surgical precision. Now she couldn't even get her car to start. The irony tasted like copper. Headlights appeared around the curve, high-mounted and slightly misaligned. An ancient Ford F-150 rolled to a stop behind her Tesla, paint faded to primer gray in places, exhaust visible in the cold. The driver's door opened with a metallic groan. The man who emerged stood 6'1", shoulders broad beneath a flannel shirt marked with old grease stains. Work boots, worn jeans, hands that had seen decades of labor, despite a face that couldn't be much past 40. He approached with the easy confidence of someone who'd spent his life solving mechanical problems. His voice came low and steady. "Engine trouble?" Tori's chest loosened slightly, relief mixing with instinctive caution. "It won't start. I don't know what's wrong." "Mind if I take a look?" She stepped aside. He moved past her, popping the hood without asking permission. Leaning into the engine bay with practiced efficiency, Tori watched his hands work, noting the scars across his knuckles, the calluses on his palms, the absolute certainty in every movement. Something about the way he carried himself tugged at the edges of her memory, familiar in a way she couldn't immediately place. "When's the last time you had the battery checked?" He didn't look up from his inspection. "I bought the car 6 months ago. I assumed everything was fine. Could be a loose terminal. Vibration from mountain roads can shake connections free." He straightened, walked back to his truck, returned with a wrench. "Let me tighten this down." Tori found herself studying his profile as he worked. The line of his jaw, the concentration in his expression, the slight smile when he found the problem. That smile. God, that smile felt like something she should recognize. Like a song she'd heard years ago but couldn't quite place. "I'm Tori, by the way." He glanced up briefly, offering that smile again. Jake. Jake. The name meant nothing, but the warmth in his eyes, the genuineness of his expression, hit her harder than it should. She'd spent 15 years surrounded by people who smiled because they wanted something. This man smiled like he meant it. "You live around here?" "About 20 minutes down the road. Run an auto shop in Pine Ridge." He tightened something with the wrench, then straightened. "Try it now." Tori slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine caught immediately, purring like it had never failed. Relief flooded through her, followed quickly by gratitude she wasn't sure how to express. Thank you so much." She stepped out, already reaching for her purse. "Let me pay you. How much do I owe you?" "Nothing." "No, really, I insist." Jake shook his head, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Took 2 minutes. I'm not taking your money for tightening a bolt." The words carried no judgment, no false modesty, just simple fact. Tori pulled out a business card instead, holding it toward him. "Then at least take this. If you ever need anything, please call me." Jake took the card, glancing at it briefly. His eyebrows rose slightly when he read the text beneath her name. CEO of Bennett Technologies. "Well," he tucked the card into his pocket. "Hope the rest of your drive goes smoother." "Thank you again." "Really?" He nodded, offered one more of those genuine smiles, and walked back to his truck. Tori stood there watching as he climbed in, started the engine, and pulled back onto the highway. His taillights faded into the darkness, red dots disappearing around the mountain curve. She got back into her Tesla, but her hands were shaking too hard to drive immediately. That smile, that kindness, the way he'd looked at her, or really looked at her like she was a person and not a title or a dollar sign, She knew that feeling, hadn't felt it in 15 years, but she knew it. Her breath caught as memories surged forward. That laugh when he'd found the problem, the way his hands moved with absolute confidence, the warmth in his eyes. No, she whispered. No, it can't be. But her heart was already racing, already knowing what her mind refused to accept. She fumbled for her phone, opened the browser with trembling fingers, typed with autocorrect, fixing her shaking mistakes. Sullivan's Auto Repair, Pine Ridge, Colorado. The website loaded slowly on the mountain's weak signal. Simple layout, basic information, nothing fancy. A photo showed a modest building on what looked like a small-town main street, and there, standing in front of the shop with his arms crossed, wearing the same easy smile, Jake Sullivan. Tori zoomed in on his face, studying every detail. Older now, weathered by years of outdoor work, but unmistakably him. The man who'd defended her outside the university library 15 years ago. The man she'd dated for 4 months before he vanished without explanation. The man she'd spent half her adult life trying to forget. Jake Sullivan, she said aloud, testing the name. You're here. After all this time, you're here. She drove the remaining 90 minutes to Denver in a daze, muscle memory guiding her through mountain curves while her mind spun backward through time. Her penthouse felt emptier than usual when she finally arrived at 2 in the morning. The king-size bed, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the custom furniture that cost more than most people's cars, all of it felt hollow. Tori stripped off her suit, left it on the bathroom floor, and climbed into bed without bothering with pajamas. Sleep refused to come. She stared at the ceiling, watching shadows shift as clouds passed across the city lights, and let herself remember. 15 years ago, she'd been nobody. Victoria Chen back then, before she'd adopted her mother's maiden name to distance herself from a father who'd abandoned them. A scared freshman at Westfield University in Oregon, scholarship student working 3 part-time jobs to afford textbooks. Brown hair, thick glasses, 40 pounds lighter because affording food and paying tuition were competing priorities. September 23, 2010. She'd been walking back from the library at 11 p.m., exhausted from her shift at the campus bookstore and 4 hours of studying microeconomics. The path between the library and her dorm cut through a poorly lit section of campus. She'd made the walk dozens of times without incident. The 4 men appeared from behind the humanities building, already drunk, already loud. They'd surrounded her before she could run, blocking the path, making comments that turned her stomach. One grabbed her arm, another stepped too close, breath reeking of cheap beer. She'd frozen. Complete deer-in-headlights paralysis, terror locking her muscles while her mind screamed at her to move, fight, scream, do something. Then Jake had appeared. Not running, not shouting, just stepping between her and them with absolute calm authority. She's with me. You need to leave. His voice had carried no anger, no aggression, just certainty. The kind of certainty that made drunk idiots reconsider their choices. They'd backed off, muttering excuses, and disappeared into the night. Jake had turned to her, concern replacing the steel in his expression. You okay? She hadn't been able to speak, still shaking with adrenaline and fear. He'd walked her back to her dorm, not touching her, just staying close enough that she felt safe. They'd sat on the steps outside her building and talked until 4 in the morning about everything and nothing, where they grew up, what they wanted from life, why they'd chosen Westfield. He'd been a sophomore studying mechanical engineering, working his way through school like she was. His mother had raised him alone after his father left when Jake was 6. He understood what it meant to be broke, to fight for every opportunity, to know that failure wasn't an option because there was no safety net. They'd started dating after that night. Not fancy dates, late-night diners where they split one entree, study sessions in the library, walks around campus when the weather turned cold. Jake had given her his jacket when she shivered, bought her coffee when she was too broke, made her laugh when statistics homework made her want to scream. In December, he'd given her his mother's St. Christopher medal on a thin silver chain. For protection, he'd said, fastening it around her neck. So you're safe even when I'm not there. She'd worn it every day, slept in it, showered in it, never took it off. It had felt like a promise, like maybe she'd finally found something good and stable in the life that had been neither. On January 7, 2011, Jake had kissed her goodnight outside her dorm and said he'd see her the next day for their study session. She'd never seen him again. Tori had gone to his dorm room the next afternoon. A different student answered, explained Jake had moved out suddenly, no forwarding information. She'd asked everyone she could find who knew him. Nobody had answers. He'd simply vanished. She'd discovered she was pregnant 3 weeks later. The stress of Jake's disappearance, combined with her already grueling schedule, had triggered a miscarriage at 8 weeks. The trauma had nearly destroyed her. She'd spent 2 weeks in the campus health center, physically recovering while emotionally falling apart. Sarah Mitchell, a girl from her dorm floor, had visited once. They'd never been close, but Sarah had seemed sympathetic. She told Tori that Jake had gone back to his hometown to marry his high school girlfriend. The news had shattered what little remained of Tori's hope. She transferred to UCLA that spring, unable to stay at Westfield where every corner reminded her of what she'd lost. She'd thrown herself into her studies with manic intensity, turned grief into ambition, channeled pain into determination. By 25, she'd founded Bennett Technologies. By 30, she'd taken it public. By 35, she'd built an empire. But she'd never forgotten Jake Sullivan. Never stopped measuring every man she met against him. Never stopped feeling like something essential was missing from her success. Now, lying in her empty penthouse bed, Tori pulled out her phone again. Jake's Facebook profile was semi-public, enough to see photos if you looked. She scrolled through years of images: Jake working on cars, Jake at community events, Jake hiking mountain trails, and Jake with a little girl. The child appeared in photos starting about 6 years ago, dark curls and Jake's warm smile. Birthday parties, school plays, camping trips. The captions identified her as Lily, his daughter. Tori did the math. If the girl was 8 now, she'd been born around 2017. 7 years after Jake had disappeared from Westfield. No woman appeared in recent photos. No wedding rings visible. The relationship status field sat empty. Tori found herself crying, hot tears sliding down her temples into her hair. Jake had moved on, built a life, had a daughter. Of course he had. She'd done the same, built a different kind of legacy. But seeing proof of the years he'd lived without her hurt more than she'd expected. She closed Facebook and returned to Google, searching for any additional information. Business licenses showed Sullivan's Auto Repair Incorporated in 2012. Reviews on various sites praised his honesty, his skill, his dedication to fair pricing. Several mentioned he was a single father raising his daughter alone. So where was the mother? Tori searched for 30 more minutes but found nothing. Finally, exhausted and emotionally wrung out, she set her phone aside. Sleep came in fitful waves, dreams mixing memory with present, Jake's smile recurring in endless variations. Morning light through the windows woke her at 7. Her first conscious thought was of Jake. Her second was a decision. She called her assistant at 8. Still in bed. "Rebecca, clear my calendar for today. Something personal came up." Rebecca, who'd worked for Tori for 5 years and knew better than to ask questions, simply confirmed. "Done. Anything else?" "Find me the best Italian deli in Denver. I need lunch for 2. Something impressive." By 9:30, Tori was in her car, the expensive deli lunch in a bag on her passenger seat, driving back toward the mountains. She told herself this was just to thank him properly. Just courtesy. Professional networking? Maybe. His shop could handle her company's fleet maintenance. She knew she was lying to herself. Pine Ridge appeared like something from a postcard, the kind of small town where everyone knew everyone and outsiders stood out immediately. Main Street featured a hardware store, a coffee shop, a diner, and Sullivan's Auto Repair sandwiched between them. The shop looked exactly like the photo. Modest building, American flag out front, hand-painted sign that had seen better decades. Tori parked across the street and sat for 5 minutes, gathering courage. Through the shop's window, she could see Jake working on what looked like a Mustang, his movements efficient and practiced. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Finally, she grabbed the lunch bag and crossed the street. The shop smelled like oil and metal, familiar scents from her childhood when her mother's car had always been one breakdown away from leaving them stranded. A woman at the front desk looked up with a smile. "Help you with something?" "I'm actually looking for Jake." The woman's smile widened knowingly, and Tori felt her face heat. Before she could explain, Jake emerged from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. He stopped when he saw her, surprise flickering across his face before settling into something pleased. "Miss Bennett?" "Tori, please." She held up the bag. "I brought lunch, to say thank you properly, if you have time." Something complex passed through Jake's expression. Hesitation, maybe, or uncertainty. He glanced back at the shop, then at her. Yeah, I can take a break." They walked to the coffee shop next door, settled on a bench outside in the weak November sunshine. Tori had brought sandwiches from an upscale Denver deli, suddenly aware of how pretentious they looked in this working-class town. Jake unwrapped his, without comment, took a bite, and made an appreciative sound. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to." Tori picked at her own sandwich, nervous energy killing her appetite. "That was a stressful situation last night. You made it much better." They ate in silence for a moment. Tori searched desperately for something to say, some way to probe without revealing too much. "Have you always lived here?" 13 years. Moved here after my mom passed away." "I'm sorry for your loss." Jake nodded, accepting the condolence. "She had a good life, fought hard at the end." "Did you grow up in Colorado?" "Oregon, actually, near Portland." Tori's breath caught, but she forced her voice to stay casual. "Really? I went to college in Oregon, Westfield University." Jake's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Small world. Oh, did you go to college?" The question hung between them, sharp-edged despite her careful tone. Jake set down his sandwich, not meeting her eyes. "Started to, didn't finish. Life had other plans." She wanted to push, to ask what had happened, to demand answers for the questions that had haunted her for 15 years. Instead, she changed subjects. "The business must keep you busy." "Busy enough, honest work, pays the bills. That's all that matters." Jake finally looked at her directly, and something in his gaze made her skin prickle. "Is it? Paying bills?" "Well, no, but it's a start." "What about you, building a tech company, becoming a CEO? That's impressive." Tori heard the distance in his voice, saw the walls going up. He was categorizing her, putting her in a box labeled different world, different class, nothing in common. The realization hurt more than it should. "I worked hard, got lucky in some ways." Luck plays a part, but mostly it's talent and determination. Jake picked up his sandwich again. "People like you, you're going places the rest of us just read about." "People like me?" The phrase stung. "Successful, powerful, you've got options, most folks don't." Before Tori could respond, a school bus hissed to a stop at the corner. Children poured out, backpacks bouncing, voices carrying across the street. A little girl with dark curls broke away from the group and ran toward them, pink backpack streaming behind her. "Dad, Dad!" She skidded to a stop in front of Jake, breathless and beaming. "I got an A on my science project." Jake's entire demeanor transformed. The walls came down, replaced by pure paternal love that made Tori's chest ache. He pulled his daughter into a hug. "That's amazing, Princess. I knew you would." The girl noticed Tori then, curiosity replacing excitement. "Who's that?" "This is Ms. Bennett. Her car had trouble last night, so I helped her out." Jake's hand stayed protectively on his daughter's shoulder. "Why is she here today, then?" The question came out suspicious, defensive. Smart kid, Tori thought. She recognized protective instinct when she saw it. "I wanted to thank your dad properly. Brought him lunch." Lily studied Tori with the intense scrutiny only 8-year-olds could manage, taking in the expensive clothes, the designer bag, the way she sat slightly apart from her father. Whatever conclusions the girl reached, they didn't seem favorable. She moved closer to Jake, positioning herself between him and Tori. "Can we go home now? I'm hungry." Jake checked his watch. "Let me close up the shop. Ms. Bennett, thank you for lunch. It was good." The dismissal was gentle but clear. Tori stood gathering the remains of their meal. "Of course, I should get back to Denver anyway." She walked back to her Tesla, feeling Lily's eyes boring into her back. Through the rearview mirror, she watched Jake and his daughter enter the shop together, saw him ruffle her hair affectionately. The scene radiated warmth and normalcy, a complete life that had no space for a stranger from the past. Except she wasn't a stranger. She was the girl he'd saved, the girl he'd dated, The girl who'd carried his child before tragedy took it away. And he didn't even know. Tori started her car but didn't pull away immediately. She'd noticed something when Jake had stood to leave, something that made her pulse quicken. A chain around his neck, visible for just a moment when his collar shifted. Silver, thin, familiar. Could he still be wearing it? After 15 years, could Jake Sullivan still have her St. Christopher medal? The thought seemed impossible, but then everything about today felt impossible. She drove back to Denver with questions multiplying in her mind. How did you tell someone you dated for 4 months 15 years ago that you recognized them? That you'd never forgotten them? That seeing them again had cracked something open inside you that you'd spent over a decade sealing shut? How did you explain that you'd built an entire empire trying to fill the hole they'd left behind? 3 days passed. Tori tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting back to Pine Ridge. She found herself Googling Jake's name at odd hours, reading customer reviews of his shop, studying photos of Lily, trying to piece together the life he'd built. On the 4th day, she broke. Thursday evening found her back in Pine Ridge, parking outside the diner on Main Street where locals seemed to congregate. Through the window, she spotted Jake at a corner booth, eating dinner alone. Before she could second-guess herself, she was inside and sliding into the seat across from him. Jake looked up, fork halfway to his mouth, surprise evident. Ms. Bennett, this is becoming a habit. 3 times in 1 week, I know. Tori's hands trembled under the table. Jake, I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think before you answer. His expression shifted, wariness replacing surprise. Okay. 15 years ago, Westfield University in Oregon. Do you remember a girl named Tori, short for Victoria? The fork clattered against the plate. Jake's face went completely white, all the color draining in an instant. Around them, the diner continued its normal evening rhythm, but their corner booth had frozen in time. Tori? His voice came out barely above a whisper. It's me, Jake. I'm Tori. He stared at her, hands gripping the table edge like it was the only thing keeping him upright. No, that's not. Tori had brown hair, glasses. She was smaller. I dyed my hair, got LASIK, gained 25 pounds, changed my last name from Chen to Bennett. Each word felt like pulling shrapnel from a wound. But it's still me. It's always been me. Jake stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly enough that other diners turned to look. He grabbed his jacket and walked toward the door. Tori followed, her heart trying to escape through her throat. Outside in the parking lot, November wind cut through her thin blazer. Jake paced, running his hands through his hair, breathing hard like he'd just sprinted a mile. You're Tori. Jesus Christ, you're actually Tori. I recognized you on the mountain road. Your smile, the way you move. I couldn't believe it at first. Jake spun to face her, and the pain in his eyes nearly knocked her down. I looked for you. After everything happened, I tried to find you. I called the school. His voice cracked. Where did you go? I was there. I came to your dorm every single day. You just vanished. My mom got sick. Cancer, stage 4. Then I had a car accident on the way back from the hospital. My phone was destroyed, laptop damaged. I lost everything. The words tumbled out in a rush. We had to move to Montana for experimental treatment. I tried to contact you through Westfield, but they said you'd transferred. I did, 2nd semester. I couldn't stay there after. Tori stopped, not ready to tell him about the miscarriage yet. Too much, too fast. After I disappeared, Jake's hands shook as he pulled the chain from under his shirt. The St. Christopher medal swung in the parking lot lights, tarnished but intact. I wore this every day, every single day for 15 years. It was all I had left of you. Tori's knees buckled. Jake caught her, his hands on her arms, the first physical contact they'd had since that night on the library steps. She reached out and touched the medal with trembling fingers, metal warm from his body heat. You kept it. Of course I kept it. Tori, you were... He stopped, emotion choking off the words. You were the best thing that happened to me, and I lost you. They stood in the parking lot, 2 people who'd spent 15 years apart trying to bridge an impossible distance in seconds. Other diners came and went around them, but neither noticed. The world had narrowed to just this moment, this recognition, this grief for time they'd never get back. Finally, Jake spoke again, his voice rough. "We should talk, really talk. Not here." "Where?" "My truck. He gestured vaguely. "It's quieter." They sat in his battered F-150, engine off, overhead light casting harsh shadows. For the first 10 minutes, they just cried, both of them, years of loss pouring out in the safety of darkness and privacy. Then the words came, tumbling over each other as they tried to compress 15 years into comprehensible narrative. Jake told her about his mother's rapid decline, how the cancer that should have given her months took her in weeks, about the accident that destroyed his phone and laptop on the same day his mom needed emergency surgery, about moving to Montana, trying desperately to find Tori while caring for a dying woman, feeling like he was failing at everything that mattered. His mother had died in February 2011. The estate had taken months to settle. By the time Jake had stability to search properly, Tori was gone from Westfield with no forwarding information. He'd hired a private investigator who'd found Victoria Chen enrolled at UCLA, but no contact information that didn't require violation of privacy laws. "I thought about showing up," Jake admitted, "flying to California, finding you on campus. But what would I say? Sorry I disappeared. Sorry I couldn't explain. Want to start over?" It seemed insane. "I would have said yes," Tori's voice broke. "I would have said yes to anything if it meant having you back." Jake reached across the console and took her hand. "I met someone 2 years later, Sarah. She told me she knew you from Westfield, said you were her roommate freshman year." Tori stiffened. "Sarah Mitchell? We were never close. She resented me, actually. I had a scholarship she wanted. She told me you were engaged, that you'd moved to California and were happy." Jake's grip tightened. "God, Tori, all these years I thought you'd moved on, found someone better, and she was lying." "She was jealous and spiteful, and I'm sorry she used that to hurt you." "Sarah got pregnant, we got married." The words came flat, emotionless. "Lily came along. Guerrero and I. We were never what you and I were. She left when Lily was 2. Car accident killed her 6 months later." "Jake, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. I loved my daughter from the moment I saw her, still do. She's the best thing in my life. But Sarah and I?" He shook his head. "I settled for something safe because I thought I'd already lost my one chance at real love." Tori pulled his hand to her chest, pressing it against her racing heart. "I built my company out of grief, out of determination to never be powerless again. Every late night, every difficult decision, every success, I was trying to fill the space you left. Did it work? No, nothing worked. No amount of money or power or recognition ever made me feel the way you did in 4 months." They sat in silence, processing. Finally, Jake spoke, his voice barely audible. "What now?" "I don't know." Tori turned to face him fully. "You have a daughter, a life here. I have a company in Denver. We're different people than we were." "Are we?" Jake's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. "Because sitting here with you feels exactly like it did 15 years ago. Like I can breathe properly for the first time in years. I feel it too, but feeling isn't enough. We have responsibilities, complications. My daughter is my first priority, always. I wouldn't expect anything different." Tori met his eyes. "But Jake, I need you to know something. I didn't come back to Pine Ridge by accident. I recognized you that first night, and I had to see you again. I had to know if what we had was real." He leaned closer. "It was real, Tori. It's still real." The space between them felt electric, charged with 15 years of want and loss and questions. Jake's free hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "I'm terrified," he whispered. "Terrified that if I kiss you right now, I'll never be able to let you go again." "Then don't let go. Not this time. Tori, you're a CEO, successful, powerful, important. I'm a mechanic in a town with one stoplight. How does that work?" "I don't care about any of that." "You should. Lily deserves stability. You deserve someone who fits your life." "You fit." Tori's voice came fierce, certain. "You've always fit. The rest is just details." Jake searched her face, looking for doubt or hesitation. Whatever he found seemed to satisfy him. He leaned in, closing the distance, stopping just before their lips touched. Last chance to run. Instead of answering, Tori closed the final inch. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, 15 years of caution making them careful. Then muscle memory took over, and it was like no time had passed at all. His hand tangled in her hair, her fingers gripped his shirt, and they kissed like drowning people finding air. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jake rested his forehead against hers. What do we do now? We figure it out. Together this time. I have to think about Lily. She's been through enough losing her mother. I can't bring someone into her life who might disappear. I won't disappear. Not again. Not ever. Tori pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Jake, I don't know how we make this work practically, but I know I'm not losing you a second time. Jake nodded slowly, decision settling over his features. Okay, we try, we take it slow, we're careful with Lily, and we try. That's all I'm asking. They sat in his truck until well past midnight, talking about everything, careers, choices, the paths their lives had taken. The conversation felt both familiar and strange, reconnecting across a canyon 15 years wide. Finally, reluctantly, they acknowledged the late hour. Jake walked Tori to her Tesla, hands clasped between them like teenagers afraid to let go. Come to dinner this weekend, he said. At my house, I want Lily to really meet you, as someone who matters, not just some random woman from Denver. Are you sure? She seemed pretty protective earlier. She's scared, lost her mom young, doesn't trust easily, but she needs to know I'm not going to be alone forever. Jake squeezed Tori's hand, and I want her to know the woman who changed my life. Twice. I'd love that. Jake leaned in for one more kiss, soft and sweet and full of promise. Then he stepped back, giving her space to leave, though everything in his body language suggested he'd rather she stay. Tori drove back to Denver with her mind spinning. In 3 days, everything had changed. The man she'd never stopped loving had reappeared. The future she'd stopped imagining suddenly seemed possible. But complications loomed large. His daughter, her company, the logistics of two lives that had grown in completely different directions. Could they really bridge that gap? Could 15 years apart be overcome by 4 months together and the memory of something extraordinary? She didn't know. But for the first time since that January night in 2011, Tori had hope. Saturday evening arrived with the weight of a job interview and first date combined. Tori stood on Jake's porch clutching a science kit she'd spent 40 minutes choosing at a specialty toy store, second-guessing every decision that had brought her to this moment. The house was modest, a 3-bedroom ranch with toys scattered across the front yard and a basketball hoop over the garage. Through the front window, she could see warm light and movement. The door opened before she could knock. Lily stood there, polite but guarded, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt with a cartoon dinosaur. Hi, Ms. Bennett. Please call me Tori. The girl stepped aside without responding, letting Tori enter a home that radiated lived-in warmth. Photos covered every available surface. Lily at various ages, Jake and Lily camping, birthday parties, school events. Artwork decorated the refrigerator with the proud randomness of a parent who thought everything their child created was masterpiece worthy. Jake emerged from the kitchen wearing an apron that read Grill Sergeant, wielding a wooden spoon. You're early. Good. Dinner's almost ready. His smile held nervousness that matched her own. Tori held out the wrapped box. I brought something for Lily. I hope that's okay. Lily took it carefully, examining the wrapping like it might contain a trap. She opened it methodically, revealing the deluxe chemistry set inside. For a moment, her eyes lit up before caution reasserted itself. Thank you. Your dad mentioned you like science. I do. The girl's tone suggested this didn't automatically make them friends. Dinner was spaghetti and meatballs, homemade from a recipe Jake explained his mother had taught him. The food was simple but perfectly executed, comfort in edible form. They sat at a small dining table, Lily positioned between her father and the newcomer like a physical barrier. The interrogation began before they'd finished serving. What do you do in Denver? Tori kept her answer age-appropriate. I run a company that helps keep people's information safe on computers. Like when you buy something online, we make sure nobody steals your parents' credit card numbers. Like a spy? Sort of. More like a bodyguard, but for data instead of people. Lily absorbed this, then pivoted. Do you have kids? The question hit harder than an 8-year-old could possibly intend. Tori's grip tightened on her fork. No, I don't. Why not? Jake's voice carried gentle warning. Lily, that's private. It's okay. Tori forced herself to meet the girl's eyes. I've been very focused on my work, haven't really had time for a family. Lily's expression suggested she found this answer insufficient. That sounds lonely. Out of the mouths of children came truths adults spent lifetimes avoiding. Tori's throat constricted. It has been, sometimes. The girl considered this, chewing thoughtfully. Why do you want to spend time with my dad? Because your father and I knew each other a long time ago. Before you were born, we lost touch, and now we found each other again. How long ago? 15 years. Lily's brow furrowed, processing. If you knew each other that long ago, why didn't Dad ever mention you? Jake set down his fork, choosing words carefully. Because I didn't know where Tori was, sweetheart. We got separated by things neither of us could control. I thought I'd never see her again. But you're seeing her now. Yes, and I'm very happy about that. Lily turned back to Tori, suspicion hardening her features. My dad and me are fine by ourselves. We don't need anyone else. The declaration carried fierce protectiveness that Tori recognized from her own childhood. Sometimes the strongest defense was pretending you didn't need what you'd already lost. She kept her voice gentle. You're absolutely right. You and your dad have built something really special together. I'm not trying to change that or take anything away. Then what do you want? Honesty seemed like the only option. I want to get to know both of you better. See if maybe we could be friends. Friends, Lily repeated, flat and skeptical. After dinner, Lily retreated to her room to work on homework, leaving Jake and Tori to clean up. They moved around each other in the small kitchen with surprising coordination, falling into rhythm like they'd done this 100 times before. Jake broke the silence first. She's protective. It's not about you specifically. I know. Tori dried a plate slowly. She's scared I'll leave. Kids who lose parents early learn not to trust. Her mother didn't die right away. Jake's hands stilled in the dishwater. Sarah left when Lily was 2, packed her things while I was at work, moved in with some guy she'd been seeing on the side. The accident happened 6 months later. Tori set down the dish towel. Lily knows her mother left? She was too young to remember consciously, but kids sense abandonment. She's terrified everyone she cares about will eventually walk away. Jake pulled the drain plug, watching water spiral down. Every woman I've dated since, and there haven't been many, Lily pushes them away. She's testing to see who will stay. They moved to the back porch, settling into worn wooden chairs that overlooked a small yard bordered by pine trees. November cold bit through Tori's sweater, but she didn't suggest going inside. This conversation needed open air and darkness. What happened to you and Sarah? Really happened. Jake was quiet for a long moment. I married her for the wrong reasons. Because I was lonely, because she was there, because I thought I'd already had my great love and lost it. That wasn't fair to either of us. Did you love her? Not the way I should have. Not the way He stopped, but the unfinished sentence hung between them anyway. Sarah knew it too. She felt like second choice, and she was right. So she found someone who made her feel first. And Lily paid the price. We both did, but Lily more than anyone. Jake's fingers drummed against the armrest. I've spent 6 years trying to show her that I'm not going anywhere, that she can count on me. But trust, once broken, doesn't repair easy. Tori reached across the space between chairs, finding his hand in the darkness. I meant what I said. I'm not disappearing. Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, I'm in it. You say that now, but you haven't seen my whole life yet. The parent-teacher conferences, the middle of the night stomach bugs, the tantrums over nothing. Dating a single parent isn't romantic. It's messy and complicated and sometimes really boring. Good. I've had enough excitement for one lifetime. Jake squeezed her hand but didn't look convinced. Before he could argue further, his phone buzzed with a text. He checked it, expression darkening. That's my assistant manager, Truck broke down with a customer's car on it. I need to go help him. Can I come? You want to spend your Saturday night helping rescue a stranded tow truck? I want to spend time with you. The location doesn't matter. Something in Jake's face softened. Okay, but fair warning, you're going to get dirty. Monday morning brought Tori back to Denver in reality in the form of Bennett Technologies' executive boardroom. The weekly leadership meeting had an edge to it, tension radiating from Richard Palmer's corner of the table. He'd been positioning for her job since she'd hired him 3 years ago, mistaking her trust for weakness. The quarterly numbers are concerning. Richard's voice carried calculated worry. Revenue growth is down 8% from projections. Client retention has slipped, and our CEO has been notably absent lately. Tori kept her expression neutral. I closed the Meridian acquisition 2 weeks ago. $40 million in new contracts. One good deal doesn't offset consistent distraction. Richard pulled up a presentation he'd clearly prepared in advance. You've missed 3 key meetings in the past month. Decision timelines have stretched. Your attention is clearly divided. Other board members shifted uncomfortably. They respected Tori but recognized truth when they heard it. She had been distracted, mind wandering to Pine Ridge during conference calls, checking her phone for texts from Jake when she should have been reviewing contracts. I've been managing my responsibilities appropriately. Have you? Richard leaned forward, going for the kill, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like personal matters are compromising your professional judgment. The meeting continued with mounting tension, Richard positioning himself as the concerned executive, worried about the company, while carefully undermining Tori's authority. By the time everyone filed out, Tori felt exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with work. Richard lingered after the others left, closing the door with deliberate care. Victoria, we need to talk. Privately. Make it quick. I have calls. I know about the mechanic. Small town guy with a kid. Very quaint. Ice flooded Tori's veins. My personal life is none of your concern. It is when it affects this company. You have a choice. Richard perched on the edge of the conference table, faux casual. Be here full-time, 100% committed, or step aside and let someone run things who won't be torn between boardrooms and backwater towns. Are you threatening me? I'm offering perspective. The board is concerned. I've already had conversations with several members. They're ready to call for a vote if necessary. Tori stood, gathering her tablet and notes with hands that wanted to shake but refused to show weakness. This conversation is over. Think about it, Victoria. What's more important, a company you built from nothing, or a man you barely know anymore? She left without responding, made it to her office, closed the door, and only then allowed herself to sit heavily in her chair. Her phone showed 2 missed texts from Jake, both cheerful updates about his day. She stared at them, Richard's words echoing. What's more important? That night, she called Jake from her penthouse, voice cracking around the edges. They're threatening to remove me. Richard is positioning for a takeover, and he's using my absences against me. Jake's voice came steady through the phone. What do you want to do? I don't know. If I choose the company, I lose you. If I choose you, I lose everything I worked for. Tori, stop. You don't have to decide tonight. But I do. Richard wants an answer Monday. All or nothing. Silence stretched across the line. Then Jake spoke, his tone careful. You can't give up your life's work. Not for me, not for anyone. That company is yours. You earned it. But you will be here. I'm not going anywhere. He paused. Come to Pine Ridge this weekend. Clear your head, then decide. Saturday brought this annual Harvest Festival, Pine Ridge's biggest event. The whole town turned out for craft booths, food trucks, and live music in the park. Jake had invited Tori days ago, before the corporate crisis, and she'd agreed without realizing what she was walking into. She arrived in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that cost more than most Pine Ridge residents spent on a week's groceries. Her Tesla drew stares from the parking lot. Everything about her screamed outsider, from her clothes to her car to the way she carried herself with unconscious authority. Jake met her at the entrance, Lily in tow. He wore flannel and work boots, comfortable in his element. Lily had dressed in layers suitable for running around outside, face already flushed with excitement. You made it. Jake's smile held warmth despite the awkwardness of the setting. They walked through the festival together, and Tori felt eyes following them. Whispers carried on the wind, fragments of gossip she wasn't meant to hear but caught anyway. Jake's new girlfriend, from the city, won't last a month. Playing dress up, Jake introduced her to people, and they were polite but distant. The mechanic down the street, the teacher from Lily's school, the owner of the hardware store, all friendly enough on the surface but clearly reserving judgment. She was the exotic creature who'd wandered into their ecosystem, and they weren't sure if she belonged or posed a threat. Melissa approached as they were buying apple cider. Mid-30s, attractive in a girl-next-door way, wearing practical clothes and genuine warmth for everyone but Tori. Her smile turned sharp when she reached them. Jake, Lily. Then with less enthusiasm, is Bennett. Jake's posture shifted slightly, protective. Melissa, how have you been? Good, working at the diner, same as always. She looked Tori up and down with obvious assessment. So you're the city woman everyone's talking about? I suppose I am. Interesting choice, Jake. Trading in for someone more upscale. Jake's jaw tightened. That's enough. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. City girl playing dress up in our little town? She won't last when reality sets in. You deserve someone who won't bail when things get hard. The words hit Tori like physical blows, each one finding a target because they echoed her own doubts. She kept her voice level through sheer will. You don't know anything about me. I know Jake, and I know women like you don't stay in places like this. Melissa's tone carried bitter certainty. We're not exciting enough, sophisticated enough, important enough. Eventually you'll get bored and leave him to pick up the pieces. Jake stepped between them, his voice low and firm. Melissa, walk away. The woman held Tori's gaze a moment longer, then turned and left. But the damage was done. Tori felt the weight of everyone's stares, the judgment in their silence. She didn't belong here. She'd never belong here. Ignore her. Jake's hand found hers. Small town. People talk. She's just bitter. She's right, though. Look at me. Tori gestured at herself, the expensive clothes that marked her as other. I'm trying to fit into a world that doesn't want me. Do you want to fit into this world? I don't know. I've spent 15 years building walls, becoming powerful enough that nobody could hurt me. I don't know how to be small. Simple. This. Lily had been watching the exchange with unusual quiet. Now she tugged on Jake's sleeve. Dad, can I go play on the swings? Sure, princess. Stay where I can see you. They watched Lily run off to join other children, her ease in this environment highlighting Tori's awkwardness. Jake pulled Tori toward a quieter area near the park's edge, away from the crowd. You don't have to be small or simple. You just have to be yourself. Myself doesn't fit here. Everyone can see it. Everyone sees what they expect to see. That city and country can't mix. Prove them wrong. Tori wanted to believe him, but standing in this small-town festival, surrounded by people who'd known each other their whole lives, she felt like an alien in human clothing. No amount of wanting could bridge that cultural gap. Sunday morning found Tori back at Jake's shop. She'd asked if he'd teach her basic car maintenance, using practicality as cover for the real desire to spend time in his world. He'd agreed with enthusiasm that warmed her, despite lingering doubts from the festival. The shop smelled like honest labor, oil, metal, rubber, sweat. Jake handed her coveralls that were too big, helped her roll up the sleeves, and led her to a Ford Explorer someone had brought in for routine service. If you're driving between Denver and Pine Ridge regularly, you need to know this stuff. He popped the hood, pointing to various components. Basic maintenance can prevent breakdowns. Check your oil weekly. Look at the color, the level. Dark and gritty means it's time to change it. Tori leaned in, paying attention not just to the lesson, but to Jake himself. The confidence in his movements, the certainty of his expertise, the patient way he explained complex systems in terms she could grasp. This was his element, where he moved with grace she'd only ever felt in boardrooms. You're good at this, teaching. It's just cars, not complicated once you understand the principles. It's more than that. You respect the intelligence of your student. You don't talk down or oversimplify them. She met his eyes across the engine bay. I fix computer systems. Engines aren't that different. Inputs, outputs, systems that need to work together. Jake's answering grin lit his whole face. Now you're getting it. He walked her through checking tire pressure, testing battery voltage, inspecting brake pads. His hands guided hers, showing proper technique, his body close enough that she could feel his warmth through the coveralls. The work was practical, but the lesson felt intimate in ways that had nothing to do with automotive maintenance. You're a natural at this. I had good motivation to learn. Car trouble when you're broke isn't romantic adventure. It's disaster. Tori straightened from checking tire pressure, wiping her hands on the coveralls. My mom's car broke down once when I was 12. We sat on the highway shoulder for 4 hours waiting for a tow we couldn't afford. Jake's expression softened with understanding. So you built an empire partly so you'd never be stranded again. Partly, also because I wanted to prove I was worth something. You were always worth something. The empire just made it visible to people too shallow to see it before. The words landed with unexpected force. Tori found herself blinking back tears, caught off guard by how much she'd needed someone to say that. Before she could respond, the shop door banged open and Lily rushed in. Dad, you forgot I only had a half day today. The girl skidded to a stop, taking in the scene. Tori in oversized coveralls, grease on her hands, hair tied back with one of Jake's shop rags, laughing with her father over an engine. Jake's face showed guilty realization. Oh no, Princess, I'm so sorry. I completely... But Lily wasn't looking at him. She stared at Tori, something shifting behind her eyes. The defensive walls lowered fractionally, curiosity replacing automatic suspicion. You're learning to fix cars? Your dad's teaching me so I don't get stranded again. Tori kept her voice neutral, not pushing. Dad taught me how to check oil when I was 6. The girl moved closer, examining Tori's grease-stained hands with the evaluating eye of a mechanic's daughter. You're doing it wrong, though. Hold the dipstick at an angle. Like this? Better. Lily's tone suggested grudging approval. They worked together for 10 minutes, Lily correcting Tori's technique with the casual authority of someone raised around engines. Jake watched from the sidelines, something complex moving across his features that looked suspiciously like hope. When Lily left to wash her hands, Jake pulled Tori close. That was progress. Real progress. She's a good teacher, like her dad. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is admit we need help and be brave enough to accept it when it's offered. The words settled into Tori's chest, heavier than he probably intended. She thought about Richard's ultimatum, the board's concerns, the choice looming over everything. Accepting help meant vulnerability. It meant trusting someone else to stand with you when things got hard. Monday at noon, Tori was in her Denver office reviewing contracts when the pain hit. Sharp, sudden, radiating through her abdomen with enough force to drop her to her knees. She tried to stand, made it halfway, and collapsed. Her assistant found her minutes later, called 911, rode with her to the hospital. By the time Jake got the call, emergency contact, when had she listed him as emergency contact? Tori was in the ER with doctors running tests and asking questions about her medical history she couldn't fully answer through waves of pain. Jake arrived with Lily, both of them scared and uncertain. He gripped Tori's hand while nurses hooked up IVs and monitors, his presence the only anchor in a sea of medical chaos. Severe ovarian cyst, the doctor explained hours later, after scans and blood work and specialist consultations. We'll need surgery to remove it, but there's something else. Tori's heart sank. What? Significant endometriosis scarring throughout your reproductive system. Extensive enough that it's remarkable you're not in constant pain. When did this develop? Tori's mind raced backward. I had a miscarriage, 15 years ago, first trimester. The doctor nodded grimly. That may have been when it started. The scarring has worsened over time. She paused, clearly choosing words carefully. Ms. Bennett, I need to be honest with you. Pregnancy would be extremely difficult. Not impossible, but the probability is very low, high risk if it happens. The room tilted. Tori heard Jake's sharp intake of breath, felt his hand tighten around hers. but the only sound in her head was white noise, static drowning out everything else. So I can't have children. It's not absolute, but you should consider your options carefully. There are alternatives. How low, the probability? The doctor's expression held practiced sympathy. 5%, maybe less. And any pregnancy would require extensive monitoring, likely bed rest, significant risk of complications. After the doctor left, Jake sat on the edge of the hospital bed, his face showing careful control over obvious emotion. Tori, look at me. She couldn't. If she looked at him, she'd shatter. You should go. What? You have Lily. You deserve someone who can give you more children. A whole family, not someone broken. Stop, Tori, stop. Jake's hands framed her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. You are not broken, and I don't need more children. I need you. You say that now, but eventually you'll resent me, the same way I've resented myself for 15 years. The words came out harsh, jagged with self-loathing she'd buried under success and ambition. That baby we lost? Our baby? I blamed myself. If I'd been stronger, less stressed, taken better care. No, Jake's voice cracked. No, that wasn't your fault. The miscarriage, the scarring, none of it was your fault. But it's my body that's broken. My body that took away your choices. My choice is you. Right now, in this moment, my choice is you. Tori pushed his hands away, turning to face the wall. Every word Jake spoke made this harder, made her want to believe in something she knew couldn't last. You should leave. Take Lily and go home. I need time to think. She heard him stand, heard the hesitation in his breathing, then footsteps moving toward the door, stopping. I'm not giving up on us. On you. Even if you give up on yourself. After he left, Tori let herself cry. Deep, wrenching sobs that tore through her chest and left her gasping. The nurse came in once, started to say something comforting, then just adjusted her IV and left her to grieve in privacy. She'd built an empire out of grief once before. Maybe she'd do it again. Maybe that's all she was good for, succeeding at things that didn't require trust or vulnerability or faith in anything beyond her own ability to survive. Evening brought unexpected footsteps. Tori assumed it was Jake coming back, preparing to either welcome him or send him away again. But the face that appeared in the doorway was smaller, younger, and far more complicated. Lily stood at the threshold, alone, looking uncertain in a way Tori had never seen on the girl's face. Ms. Bennett, can I come in? Lily, where's your dad? Getting me dinner from the cafeteria. He doesn't know I came up here. The girl entered slowly, stopping by the bed with her hands clasped in front of her. I heard what the doctor said about babies. Tori's chest tightened. You shouldn't have heard that. I was in the waiting room. The door was open. Lily's voice dropped. I heard Dad too. What you told him. Lily, my mom left me because I wasn't good enough. The words came out flat, rehearsed, like she'd said them 1,000 times in her head. That's what I think anyway. Dad says Mom left because she wasn't happy, not because of me. But I still think if I'd been better, been enough, maybe she would have stayed. Tori's heart shattered. She pulled herself up despite the pain, making room on the bed. Come here, please. Lily climbed up carefully, settling beside Tori with the fragile trust of someone who'd been hurt too many times. Tori wrapped an arm around the girl's shoulders, feeling her shake with suppressed emotion. Your mother leaving had nothing to do with you. Nothing. Parents make terrible choices sometimes, but those choices are never the child's fault. But what if I was too much trouble? What if she looked at me and wishes she'd never... No, listen to me, Lily. Your mother walked away from the most precious thing in her life. That makes her the one who failed, not you. Lily was quiet for a long moment, then small and scared. Are you going to leave Dad? I don't want to. But you think you should because you can't give him more kids. The girl's voice carried surprising insight for 8 years old. That's dumb. Despite everything, Tori almost laughed. Dumb? Yeah, Dad loves you, like really loves you. I can tell. Lily twisted to look up at Tori. And I don't hate you. I thought I would, but I don't. That's good to know. I was scared you'd take Dad away, or that you'd leave and make him sad. But watching you guys together, Dad's happier than I've ever seen him. Tears leaked from the girl's eyes. If you leave because you think we need more babies, that's just stupid. We have me. And maybe we could have you. That's already more than we had before. The words struck like lightning, illuminating truths Tori had been too scared to see. Family wasn't about biology or expectations or checking boxes on some imaginary list. Family was about who stayed, who chose you when things got hard, who showed up in hospital rooms and refused to let you face your worst fears alone. Your dad said something earlier. He said family is about who stays when things get difficult. He tells me that a lot, usually when I'm being bratty about something. Lily wiped her eyes. So are you going to stay, even though it's hard? Tori pulled the girl closer, feeling her own tears start again. Yeah, kiddo, I'm going to stay. They sat together until Jake came back, found them curled up on the hospital bed watching cartoons on the room's television. His expression moved through surprise, confusion, and finally understanding. He set down the food he'd brought and joined them. The three of them squeezed onto a bed meant for one. Nobody said much. They didn't need to. Sometimes the most important conversations happened without words. Tori was released 2 days later with prescriptions and surgery scheduled for the following month. Jake drove her back to her Denver condo, helped her settle in, made sure her refrigerator had food. Lily had returned to school, but she'd hugged Tori goodbye with surprising fierceness. I'll come check on you tomorrow. Jake lingered at the door, clearly reluctant to leave. You don't have to. It's a long drive. I want to. He kissed her forehead. Get some rest. But rest proved impossible. That evening, Tori got a call from her lawyer, voice tight with urgency. Emergency board meeting tomorrow. Richard's making his move. He's got proxy votes lined up to remove you as CEO. I'm 2 days post-hospital. They can't be serious. He's claiming medical leave plus ongoing distraction equals incompetent leadership. Unless you're there to vote yourself, you're going to lose the position. Tori sat on her couch, still sore from the cyst removal, and felt everything she'd built crumbling. I can barely walk. Then you need to decide what matters more, your health or your company. After hanging up, Tori stared at her phone. She could call Richard, try to negotiate. She could miss the meeting, let the company go, choose Jake and Lily and the life they represented. She could fight, drag herself to that boardroom and defend what she'd built, even if it meant compromising her recovery. The choices felt impossible, each one requiring her to sacrifice something essential. She was still sitting there, paralyzed by indecision, when she heard her door unlock. Jake walked in carrying takeout and wearing an expression of determination. Your assistant gave the spare key. He set the food down, sat beside her. What's wrong? Emergency board meeting tomorrow. Richard's moving to remove me as CEO. Then you go to the meeting. Jake, I can barely stand. The doctor said bed rest for at least a week. Then I'll carry you, but you're not giving up that company without a fight. Tori stared at him. Why do you even care? You've said yourself we live in different worlds. Wouldn't it be easier if I just let it go, focused on us? Jake took her hands, his grip strong and certain. Because watching you these past few weeks, I finally understand something. Your company isn't just about success or money or power. It's proof you survived. It's armor you built to protect yourself after I left you vulnerable and hurt. His voice roughened with emotion. It's your dignity, Tori, and I'll be damned if I let Richard Palmer take that from you. But what if I can't win? What if I lose everything anyway? Then you lose fighting, not surrendering. There's honor in that. She searched his face, looking for doubt or uncertainty, found only conviction. You really understand? Of course I do. My shop is the same. It's not just business. It's proof I can provide for my daughter, proof I'm worth something despite never finishing my degree. Sometimes the work we do is less about money and more about knowing we have value. The next morning, Tori arrived at Bennett Technologies in a wheelchair Jake pushed, Lily walking beside them with a backpack full of homework. The board members stared as Jake helped Tori transfer to her seat at the head of the table, arranging pillows to support her still healing body. Richard's smug expression flickered into uncertainty. Victoria, you shouldn't be here. You need to recover. Tori smiled, all teeth and no warmth. I'm here. That's all that matters. The meeting began with Richard's presentation, carefully constructed arguments about declining performance and an absent leadership. Charts showed missed meetings, delayed decisions, percentage drops in various metrics. He painted a picture of a CEO too distracted by personal matters to lead effectively. This company needs someone fully committed, not someone choosing between boardrooms and small-town mechanics. His gaze flicked to Jake, sitting against the wall with Lily. The condescension in his voice was unmistakable. Tori waited until he finished, then pulled up her own laptop. "You're right about one thing, Richard. I have been distracted. 4 days this month specifically. Want to know what I accomplished in the other 26 days? Her presentation loaded, data flowing across the screen. Meridian acquisition, 40 million in new contracts, closed personally. Phoenix expansion, 3 new clients, 12 million projected annual revenue, closed personally. Systems upgrade that increased processing speed 34%, reducing client costs and increasing satisfaction ratings. Implemented personally." She clicked through slide after slide. Q3 results under my leadership show record profits, 34% growth year over year, client retention at 97%, highest in our sector. Board members leaned forward, examining data that contradicted Richard's narrative. The CFO nodded slowly. "These numbers are impressive, more than impressive. Richard is correct that I missed 4 days. I had emergency surgery. Before that, I was present and effective." Tori leaned back, fighting pain but refusing to show it. However, he does raise a valid point about work-life balance, which is why I'm proposing a restructure. She outlined the plans she'd spent the hospital stay developing. Move headquarters from Denver to Boulder, 60 miles closer to Pine Ridge. Establish regional offices in Austin and Seattle. Implement company-wide hybrid work model, 3 days office, 2 days remote. Studies show flexible work increases productivity 19%. Employee satisfaction jumps by 31%. Retention improves, recruitment becomes easier. This isn't about my personal life. This is good business. The CTO spoke up. Boulder makes financial sense. Lower operating costs, excellent talent pool from the university. The hybrid model aligns with post-pandemic workforce expectations. Richard tried to regain control. This is clearly motivated by her relationship with a mechanic, not business needs. Jake stood. Every eye in the room turned to him. The outsider, the working-class man who didn't belong in this space. He met their stares without flinching. "With respect, sir, you're wrong. This is about both, and there's nothing shameful in that." His voice carried quiet authority. 15 years ago, I had to choose between finishing my engineering degree and taking care of my dying mother. I chose family over career. I lost opportunities, lost the future I'd planned, but I gained something too. I learned what actually matters. He gestured to Tori. "She shouldn't have to make the choice I made. Nobody should in 2025. If this company values people over profits, if you mean anything you say about work-life balance and employee well-being, prove it. Let her have both." The silence stretched, broken only by Lily's pencil scratching on homework. Then the CFO spoke. "I move we vote on the restructure plan, separate from any CEO replacement discussion." The vote was close, 6-5 with 2 abstentions. But it passed. Bennett Technologies would restructure, and Tori would keep her position. Richard walked out without a word, rage radiating from every line of his body. In the parking lot afterward, Jake loaded Tori back into the wheelchair while Lily danced around them, excited by the victory. Tori's hands shook with adrenaline crash, pain medication wearing off, reality of what she'd just won settling in. "You fought for me. In there, in front of everyone, you fought for me." Jake knelt beside the wheelchair, eye level with her. "Always. That's what we do when we love someone. We fight. I love you too. I should have said it before. Should have. You showed it. In 100 ways, you've shown it." He kissed her, gentle and careful of her healing body. "Now let's get you home." "Which home?" Jake's answering smile held everything she needed to know. "Whichever one you choose. We'll make it work." 2 months passed in a rhythm that felt both foreign and inevitable. Tori relocated her primary workspace to Boulder, spending Monday through Wednesday in the new headquarters, while her team managed Denver operations remotely. Thursday through Sunday belonged to Pine Ridge, to Jake's house that was slowly becoming her house too, to Lily who'd stopped calling her Ms. Bennett and started using her first name without being asked. The adjustment came with friction. Tori's work clothes took over half Jake's closet. Her expensive coffee maker clashed with his drip machine on the kitchen counter. Lily complained when Tori reorganized the pantry, and Jake had to mediate arguments about proper towel folding techniques that revealed how differently they'd learned to exist in the world. But there were victories too. Tori taught Lily advanced coding during homework sessions, watching the girl's eyes light up when programs she'd written actually worked. Jake showed Tori how to change her own oil, patient with her mistakes, proud when she completed the job without help. They cooked dinner together most nights, three people learning to share space and responsibilities in the tiny compromises that built a life. Bennett Technologies thrived under the hybrid model. Employee satisfaction surveys came back with numbers that justified every risk Tori had taken. Productivity increased exactly as predicted. Richard had resigned rather than adapt, taking a position with a competitor where he could maintain his rigid worldview about dedication requiring physical presence. The town's acceptance came slower, but with more permanence. Tori volunteered at Lily's school, teaching a weekly coding class that drew students from 3 grade levels. She joined the PTA, sat through tedious budget meetings, donated equipment the school district couldn't afford. Parents who dismissed her as a rich outsider playing house gradually revised their assessments. The mayor approached her at a town council meeting, offering a seat on the Economic Development Committee. "We need people who understand technology, modern business, folks who can help us attract companies without losing our character." Tori accepted, flattered and surprised. "I'm not sure I fit the profile you're looking for." "You fit fine, you're here, you're invested, you care about this place, that's what matters." Melissa appeared at Sullivan's Auto one Friday afternoon while Tori was helping Jake close up. She walked in with the posture of someone preparing for battle, but hoping for peace. "Can we talk? Just for a minute?" They stepped outside, leaving Jake to finish paperwork. Melissa leaned against the building, arms crossed defensively. "I owe you an apology for what I said at the festival, for being hostile. It was petty and mean. You were protecting someone you care about. I understand that impulse." "Maybe, but mostly I was jealous." Melissa's laugh carried self-deprecation. "Jake and I dated for 6 months a few years back. I thought we had something real, but he ended it, said his heart wasn't available. Watching him with you, seeing how he looks at you, I realized he wasn't lying. He just wasn't capable of giving what he'd already given someone else." Tori didn't know how to respond to such raw honesty. That must have hurt. It did, but watching you these past 2 months, seeing how you've adapted, how hard you're trying, you're not what I expected. You actually love him. And Lily, this isn't some experiment or slumming adventure. It's my life, the life I want. Then I'm sorry I tried to poison it. Jake deserves to be happy, and despite my initial impressions, I think you do too. Melissa pushed off from the wall. "Also, your coding class is apparently amazing. My nephew talks about it constantly." They shook hands, not quite friends, but no longer enemies. Small-town politics, Tori was learning, operated on different rules than corporate boardrooms. Apologies meant something here. Proximity forced resolution rather than allowing grudges to calcify from distance. Jake's poker night became a monthly ritual that included Tori by the 3rd meeting. She sat at the battered card table surrounded by mechanics, contractors, and the guy who ran the hardware store, learning 7-card stud while they argued about football and local politics. They ribbed her about her terrible bluffing face, offered advice she promptly ignored, and groaned when she pulled an unlikely flush. "You've got beginner's luck that defies probability." Tom, the hardware store owner, threw down his cards in disgust. "I've got mathematical understanding of odds and risk assessment." That's just fancy talk for luck. But they laughed when they said it, including her in the camaraderie with the ease of people who'd decided she'd passed whatever test they'd been administering. After the game, loading dishes while Jake walked the last guest out, Tom's wife Linda touched Tori's arm. "We're glad you're here. Jake's been alone too long, and Lily needs more than just a father. She needs to see what healthy relationships look like." The words settled warm and solid in Tori's chest. Acceptance, finally, genuine and freely given. Wednesday afternoon shattered the peace. Tori was in a video conference when Jake's name flashed on her phone 3 times in rapid succession. She muted her microphone, stepping away from the camera's range. "Jake, what's wrong?" His voice came tight with barely controlled anger. "Sarah's sister just showed up at the shop. Kelly Mitchell. She wants custody of Lily." Tori's world tilted. "What?" "She served me papers. Court date is set for next month. She's claiming I can't provide adequately, that Lily deserves better opportunities." The video conference continued on her screen, faces discussing quarterly projections like the world wasn't ending. Tori ended the call without explanation, already grabbing her coat. "I'm on my way." Jake sat in his office behind the shop, legal documents spread across a desk stained with decades of coffee rings and motor oil. His hands shook with rage and fear in equal measure. Kelly Mitchell's petition was thorough, professionally prepared, devastating in its implications. Tori read through the filing, her mind cataloging each accusation with cold, analytical precision. She's arguing you're working class with limited means, that Lily would have better educational opportunities with her, that your unstable personal life, meaning me, creates an inappropriate environment. She abandoned Lily when Sarah died, didn't want anything to do with a grieving toddler. Now she shows up 6 years later demanding custody? Jake's voice cracked. "She's using my income against me. Like being a mechanic makes me inadequate. It makes you dignified. There's nothing inadequate about honest work and providing for your child. Tell that to a judge. Kelly married some tech executive, lives in a mansion in Aspen. Private schools, tutors, all the things I can't give Lily." Tori sat across from him, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Lily doesn't need mansions. She needs you. We fight this. We win." "How?" "She's got money for expensive lawyers. She's got every material advantage. We've got truth. We've got a daughter who loves her father, and we've got me, someone who understands exactly how to dismantle this kind of argument in court." Jake's lawyer arrived the next day, a competent woman named Diana who specialized in family law but clearly operated on a budget that matched Jake's income. She reviewed Kelly's petition with a practiced eye that missed nothing. "This is aggressive. She's going after your character, your financial situation, your relationship. She's painting a picture of instability and inadequacy. Can we beat it? Possibly. Judges generally favor keeping children with their current guardians unless there's proven harm or neglect. But Kelly's resources give her an edge. She can afford expert witnesses, private investigators, psychologists who'll say whatever she pays them to say." Tori spoke up. "What if we had equal resources?" Diana looked at her properly for the first time. "You're Victoria Bennett, Bennett Technologies. I am, and I have resources. Money for experts, investigators, whatever we need." "Tori, no." Jake's voice held warning. "I can't let you pay for this. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to fight for my family." "We're not..." He stopped, the word married hanging unspoken between them. They weren't legally anything yet. She had no standing, no claim, no right to insert herself into this battle. Diana cleared her throat. "Ms. Bennett's resources would certainly help, but Kelly's lawyer will use your relationship against you, argue that you're prioritizing a new girlfriend over Lily's stability. Then we prove that's not true. We show that our relationship strengthens Lily's environment, doesn't weaken it." The strategy session continued for hours, building a defense that relied on documentation, witnesses, and Lily's own testimony if necessary. By the time Diana left, Tori's head pounded with exhaustion and fury at a system that measured parental fitness by bank account balance. That night, Jake told Lily about the custody petition. She took it better than expected initially, nodding along as he explained that Aunt Kelly wanted her to come live in Aspen. Then after a long pause, she asked in a very small voice, "Do I have to go?" "Not if I can help it, Princess. We're going to fight this." "What if the judge makes me go?" "Then we'll appeal. We'll keep fighting until we win." Lily's face crumpled. "Aunt Kelly doesn't even know me. She didn't come to my birthday. She didn't visit when I had the flu. She doesn't want me, she just wants to win. The insight was devastating in its accuracy. Jake pulled his daughter close, promising things he wasn't certain he could deliver, but needing her to hear them anyway. After he tucked Lily in, he found Tori on the back porch, staring at stars invisible through Denver's light pollution, but sharp and clear in Pine Ridge's darkness. She's terrified, and there's nothing I can do to guarantee this won't destroy her. Tori pulled him down beside her. We prepare. We document everything you've done for her. We get teachers, doctors, friends to testify to. We show that your daughter is thriving under your care. And if it's not enough, then we appeal. Then we fight harder. Then we exhaust every legal option available until there's nothing left to trim. They sat in silence, holding each other against the uncertainty. Inside, Lily's light clicked off, leaving her room dark. 8 years old and already learning that adults made decisions that shattered children's lives without regard for what those children wanted or needed. The weeks before the hearing crawled with agonizing slowness. Diana worked tirelessly, building their case while Kelly's lawyers worked equally hard to tear it down. Private investigators showed up at Jake's shop, at Lily's school, watching and documenting and searching for any evidence of inadequacy. One evening, Tori found Lily sitting on her bed, small and scared in a way that made Tori's protective instincts surge. "Can I come in?" Lily nodded, making room. They sat together in silence before the girl spoke. "They're going to take me away from Dad." "No, they're not. Aunt Kelly's lawyer came to school, asked me questions about where I live, what I eat, if Dad's ever mean to me." Tears leaked from Lily's eyes. "I told them Dad's perfect, that I don't want to leave, but they didn't care. They just wrote stuff down." Tori wrapped an arm around the shaking girl. "Lily, listen to me. That lawyer's job is to make your dad look bad, but the judge's job is to figure out what's actually best for you. And what's best is staying with your father." "How do you know?" "You don't know the judge. Because I know your dad. I know how much he loves you, how hard he works to give you a good life. And I know you, smart, happy, healthy, thriving. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because someone loves you enough to put you first every single day." Lily turned, burying her face in Tori's shoulder. "I'm scared." "Me too. Being scared doesn't mean we give up. It means we fight harder." "Will you testify? At the hearing? If your dad's lawyer thinks it'll help, absolutely." "I want you to, because you're going to be my mom, right?" The question emerged muffled against Tori's sweater. "Like my real mom, not just Dad's girlfriend." Tori's throat closed. She managed to force words through. "If you'll have me, yeah, I'd like that very much." "Good, because I already decided. You stay when things get hard. That makes you family." The hearing took place in county court on a Tuesday morning that felt like walking toward execution. Kelly Mitchell arrived with 2 lawyers, expensive suits broadcasting their hourly rates. She was 32, polished, wearing designer clothes and the confidence of someone who'd never doubted her right to get whatever she wanted. Jake's side of the courtroom felt sparse by comparison. Diana, Jake, Tori, and a small notebook full of witness contact information. The judge was a woman in her 50s, expression professionally neutral, eyes that missed nothing. Kelly testified first. Her lawyers had coached her well, just the right blend of concern and capability. "Lily is my niece, my sister's only child. I wanted to take her when Sarah died, but I was going through a difficult divorce. I wasn't in a position to care for a toddler. Now I'm remarried, financially secure, able to provide opportunities Jake simply can't match." Diana cross-examined carefully. "You've had minimal contact with Lily for 6 years. Why now?" "I've been building a stable life. Now I'm ready to fulfill my obligation to my sister's memory." "Or perhaps you're motivated by something else. Your current husband has political aspirations, and having a photogenic child fits a certain image?" Kelly's lawyer objected. The judge sustained it, but the seed was planted. Diana continued pressing, establishing that Kelly hadn't attended birthdays, hadn't sent presents, hadn't maintained any meaningful relationship with her niece beyond occasional phone calls. Jake's testimony came next. He spoke plainly about raising Lily alone, about working long hours while ensuring she had everything she needed, about parent-teacher conferences and soccer games and teaching her to ride a bike. Diana walked him through their daily routine, their weekend activities, the life they'd built together. Kelly's lawyer attacked during cross-examination. "Mr. Sullivan, what's your annual income?" "About 65,000, give or take depending on the year." "And Ms. Mitchell's household income?" "I don't know. Several hundred thousand, probably. Closer to 700,000. She can provide private schools, tutors, travel, experiences you simply cannot afford." "How is that not in Lily's best interest?" Jake's jaw tightened. "Money doesn't measure love. It doesn't measure stability or safety or being there when your kid needs you. I've been there for Lily every single day of her life since she was 2 years old. That matters more than any bank account." "Does it? When Lily needs college tuition? When she wants to study abroad? When she deserves opportunities beyond what a small-town mechanic can provide? What then? Then I'll find a way. Same as I've found a way for everything else." The lawyer shifted tactics. "You're in a new relationship. Ms. Bennett has been in Lily's life approximately 2 months. That seems unstable, don't you think? Exposing your daughter to a romantic partner you barely know?" "I've known Tori for 15 years. We dated in college before circumstances separated us. This isn't some casual relationship. This is reconnecting with someone I've loved my entire adult life. And if it doesn't work out, if Bennett decides small-town life isn't exciting enough and returns to Denver full-time, what happens to Lily then?" Jake's hands gripped the witness stand. "That won't happen. You can't guarantee that. I can guarantee that Lily is loved, safe, and happy. I can guarantee she has a father who would do anything for her, and I can guarantee that taking her from the only home she's known would cause harm no amount of money can fix." Teacher testimony followed. Mrs. Morrison from Lily's school described a bright, engaged student with perfect attendance and strong friendships. "Lily talks about her father constantly. The pride in her voice is unmistakable. She's a well-adjusted child from a loving home." The pediatrician testified about consistent care, all vaccinations current, regular checkups showing healthy development. "Mr. Sullivan is attentive and engaged. He asks questions, follows medical advice, clearly prioritizes his daughter's well-being." Then Diana called Tori. She stood at the witness stand in a conservative suit, professional demeanor masking the terror underneath. Kelly's lawyer watched her with predatory interest. Diana's questions established Tori's identity, her company, her relationship with Jake. Then gently she asked about the history. Tori explained meeting Jake in college, losing touch, reuniting on the mountain road. The judge listened with visible interest. "Ms. Bennett, you've restructured your entire company to accommodate this relationship? That seems extreme for 2 months of dating." "It seems extreme because most people don't get second chances at the loves of their lives. I wasn't about to waste mine." Kelly's lawyer stood for cross-examination, circling like a shark. "Ms. Bennett, your company is worth approximately $200 million. Is that accurate?" "Roughly." "And you've been seeing Mr. Sullivan for 2 months. Don't you find it suspicious that a working-class mechanic suddenly has access to significant wealth through you?" Tori's voice went cold. "Are you implying Jake is using me for money?" "I'm suggesting the timing is convenient. A custody battle where financial resources matter, and suddenly he has a wealthy girlfriend willing to fund his legal defense. Jake didn't ask me to help. I insisted. Because that's what you do when someone you love faces injustice." "Injustice? Ms. Mitchell wants to provide her niece with opportunities and advantages. How is that unjust?" "Because Lily doesn't want to go, because she has a father who loves her, because tearing her from her home because her dad makes $65,000 instead of $700,000 isn't about Lily's welfare. It's about class prejudice." The lawyer's smile turned sharp. Spoken like someone with privilege. "But wouldn't Lily benefit from private schools, travel, cultural enrichment? Things Mr. Sullivan cannot provide. She'll benefit from those things when I pay for them. Lily can have private schools and a father who loves her. She doesn't have to choose." The courtroom went silent. Kelly's lawyer recovered quickly. "So you're planning to fund Lily's entire upbringing?" That's quite a commitment for a relationship that's barely begun. This relationship began 15 years ago. It's just continuing now. Tori leaned forward. And yes, I plan to fund whatever Lily needs. Jake and I are building a life together. That includes his daughter. That includes ensuring she has every opportunity, every advantage, every resource. She can have it all, the opportunities money provides and the love and stability her father gives her. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. After testimony concluded, the judge allowed Lily to speak in chambers. Diana had prepared her, but nobody knew what an 8-year-old would say under pressure. She emerged 20 minutes later, eyes red from crying, and ran straight to Jake. He caught her, holding her while she sobbed against his shoulder. The judge returned to the bench. This case troubles me. Ms. Mitchell raises valid points about opportunities and resources. Mr. Sullivan cannot provide many advantages a $700,000 household can offer. Jake's arms tightened around Lily. Tori's nails dug into her palms. However, the judge consulted her notes. Stability matters more than enrichment. Love matters more than tutors. The testimony consistently shows that Lily is thriving under Mr. Sullivan's care. Her grades are excellent, her health is good, her emotional development appears sound. Ms. Mitchell has had minimal involvement in her niece's life for 6 years. That speaks to priorities. Kelly's face flushed with anger. The judge continued, unmoved. Furthermore, Ms. Bennett's willingness to financially support Lily's education and opportunities negates Ms. Mitchell's primary argument about resources. The court finds no evidence of neglect, inadequacy, or harm. Custody remains with Mr. Sullivan. Case dismissed. The gavel fell. Kelly stood abruptly, face twisted with rage, and stormed out with her lawyers trailing behind. Jake collapsed into his chair, still holding Lily, both of them crying with relief. Tori found herself crying too, hands shaking with the adrenaline crash of winning a battle she'd been terrified of losing. Outside the courthouse, Diana shook their hands. That was close, closer than I'd like. But you won. Lily stays with you. Jake couldn't speak, could only nod. Lily refused to let go of him, clinging with the desperate grip of a child who'd come too close to losing everything that mattered. They drove back to Pine Ridge in silence, emotions too raw for words. That evening, after Lily finally fell asleep in her own bed in her own home, Jake found Tori on the porch. He sat beside her, not speaking for several minutes. Then quietly, "You told that courtroom you'd pay for Lily's entire future. You barely know her." "I know her enough. She's your daughter. That makes her important to me." "Tori." Jake turned to face her. "What you did today, what you've done these past months, that's not obligation. That's not just caring about me. That's love. Of course it's love. I love Lily. I love the life we're building. Marry me." The words hung in the November air, visible as breath in the cold. Tori stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "What?" "Marry me, not next year or when things settle down. Now, soon, because life is short and uncertain, and I've already wasted 15 years not being with you." Jake took her hands. "I'm terrified every day that something will happen, that I'll lose you again. I want you legally bound to me in every way possible. I want Lily to have the mother she deserves. I want us to be a family, official and permanent. Jake, we've only been together 2 months. We've been together 15 years. We just had a break in the middle." Tori laughed, the sound emerging shaky and overwhelmed. "That's not how relationships work." "Maybe not, but it's how ours does." He pulled out a small box from his jacket pocket. "This isn't fancy. I'm not rich, but it's real." The ring was simple gold with a modest diamond, exactly the kind of unpretentious jewelry a mechanic could afford. Tori looked at it and saw something more valuable than any corporate acquisition, any business success, any amount of wealth. She saw proof that someone loved her enough to ask her to stay forever. "Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to making this official. Yes to being Lily's mother. Yes to all of it." Jake slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her close, kissing her with a desperation that spoke to how scared he'd been of losing everything. They stayed on the porch until cold drove them inside, holding each other against the world's uncertainty. choosing to believe that sometimes love was enough. 6 months later, spring had transformed Pine Ridge from winter gray to green vitality. Tori stood in the community center that had been transformed for the occasion. White fabric draped across walls, wildflowers in mason jars, string lights creating constellations overhead. 60 people filled folding chairs, an audience mixing Jake's town friends with Tori's business colleagues in unexpected harmony. Lily was Flower Girl, wearing a lavender dress she'd chosen herself, grinning so wide her face must hurt. The wedding was small and simple, nothing like the elaborate affairs Tori's peers expected. No ice sculptures or string quartets or designer everything. Just honest celebration of something real. Jake waited at the front in a simple gray suit, his mother's St. Christopher medal visible at his throat. He looked nervous and happy, and completely certain exactly how Tori felt walking toward him down an aisle that existed only because her assistant had used masking tape to mark a path through the chairs. They'd written their own vows. Jake spoke first, his voice rough with emotion. 15 years ago, I let you go because I had no choice. Today, I'm promising and I'll never let go again. You've changed my life twice. First, by teaching me what love could be. Second, by showing me it doesn't have to end. Tori, you make me better. You make Lily better. You make everything better just by being here. I'm a simple man with simple skills, but I promise I'll spend every day trying to deserve you. Tori blinked back tears, barely managing to keep her voice steady. Jake, I built an empire because I thought success would fill the empty space inside me. It didn't. Nothing did until I found you again. You showed me that real strength isn't about walls and armor. It's about being brave enough to let someone in. You and Lily are my home, my family, my everything. I promise to love you, support you, and choose you every single day for the rest of my life. The officiant pronounced them married. Jake kissed her to applause and cheers. Lily hugged both of them, jumping with excitement, already talking about what she called Tori now that it was official. The reception was potluck, neighbors bringing dishes, Jake's friends setting up tables, everything homemade and heartfelt. Melissa appeared during the dancing, pulling Tori aside. I was wrong about you, completely wrong. Welcome to Pine Ridge, for real this time. Thank you, that means more than you know. Also, your assistant asked me to give you this. She handed over an envelope, grinning mysteriously before disappearing back into the crowd. Tori opened it to find an ultrasound image and a note in her doctor's handwriting. 10 weeks. Congratulations. I told you miracles happen. Her hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the photo. Jake was across the room talking to Tom, laughing at something, completely unsuspecting. Tori wove through guests, pulled him aside and handed him the envelope without explanation. She watched his face as he opened it, saw confusion transform to shock, transformed to joy so intense it looked painful. His eyes found hers, questioning, desperate for confirmation. This wasn't some cruel joke. 10 weeks. The doctor says it's a miracle baby. Tori's voice broke. Jake, we're having a baby. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her while she laughed and cried simultaneously. Lilith appeared, demanding to know what was happening, and Jake told her with no preamble or preparation, just pure excitement. You're going to be a big sister. The girl's scream of joy probably damaged eardrums. She launched herself at both of them, all three of them holding each other and crying happy tears while wedding guests watched with knowing smiles. The music continued, the celebration went on, but their small family unit existed in a bubble of overwhelming gratitude for impossible gifts. Later, during cake cutting, Tori looked around at the crowded room. Her board members mingled with Jake's poker buddies. Lily danced with kids from school and Bennett Technologies summer interns. Diana chatted with the mayor about local development projects. Separate worlds that had seemed incompatible 6 months ago had found ways to coexist, to mesh, to become something new and functional. The night ended with Tori and Jake in his truck, their truck now, driving to a cabin in the mountains for a 3-day honeymoon before returning to real life. Lily was staying with Tom's family, probably already asleep after the excitement. I keep thinking I'll wake up and this will all be a dream. Jake's hand found Tori's over the center console. That you'll disappear again and I'll be back to just surviving instead of actually living. Not a dream, real life. Our life. Our life. He said it like testing out new vocabulary. Our baby, our family, still doesn't seem possible. We'll have a year to get used to it before the baby comes. Jake was quiet for a while, driving through darkness, lit only by headlights and stars. I used to think my life was small. Good, but small. Now it feels too big to fit inside my chest. That's not your life being small. That's your heart being huge enough to hold all this. They reached the cabin after midnight, carried bags inside, collapsed into bed too exhausted for anything but holding each other. Tomorrow would bring reality, work emails, parenting responsibilities, the endless negotiations of two lives merging. Tonight was just this, being together, being married, being happy. 1 year later, the house they'd bought together, halfway between Pine Ridge and Boulder, big enough for a growing family, felt lived in and chaotic in all the best ways. Christopher Bennett Sullivan had arrived in January, a healthy 7-pound miracle that doctors still couldn't fully explain. He had his father's eyes and his mother's determined scowl when hungry. Lily, now 9, had adapted to siblinghood with surprising grace. She read to Christopher during his alert periods, helped with diaper changes, and only occasionally complained about the crying interrupting her homework. Mostly she seemed proud, showing off her baby brother to anyone who'd look. Saturday morning found them in their kitchen, navigating the organized chaos of family breakfast. Jake worked the stove, Lily set the table, Tori managed Christopher in a bouncer while simultaneously handling work emails one-handed. Modern family multitasking at its finest. "Mom, can you help me with my coding project after breakfast?" The word mom still made Tori's chest tight with gratitude. She'd officially adopted Lily 3 months ago, legal papers that meant everything. "Of course. What are you stuck on?" "The loop isn't looping right. It keeps breaking after 2 cycles. Probably a conditional statement issue. We'll debug it together." Jake served pancakes, his specialty, and they ate as a family while Christopher observed from his bouncer with the serious expression of someone taking in important information. Lily chattered about school, about her science fair project, about wanting a dog now that they had a house with a yard. "Can we talk about the dog thing later?" Jake caught Tori's eye, communicating silent amusement about their daughter's persistence. After breakfast, Lily pulled Tori to her room for coding help, while Jake cleaned up and entertained Christopher. Working through debug processes with a 9-year-old wasn't that different from managing her development team. Just required more patience and simpler explanations. "Got it." Lily's program finally ran correctly, executing loops exactly as intended. "I'm going to be a programmer like you when I grow up." "You can be anything you want. But yeah, you've got the mind for it." They worked until lunch, then Tori relieved Jake so he could head to the shop for a few hours. The business had expanded significantly, now employing 6 mechanics and handling corporate contracts for Bennett Technologies fleet management. Jake had hired a manager, giving him flexibility to actually enjoy fatherhood rather than being chained to work. That evening, after Lily went to bed and Christopher finally settled after his usual fighting sleep, Tori and Jake collapsed on their back porch with monitors and baby cameras and all the modern parenting technology that made previous generations marvel. Stars hung brilliant overhead, the same stars they'd watched that first night after reconnecting. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Jake's voice was quiet, contemplative. "If you hadn't broken down on that mountain road, if I hadn't stopped. Every day, and I'm grateful for every choice that led to this." Tori shifted closer. "Even the bad ones, even the pain, because it made us who we are. Sometimes people ask me if I mind, that you make more money, have the bigger career, that technically you're more successful. What do you tell them? That success isn't about money or titles. It's about building something that matters. And we've built this. A family, a life, a home. That's the only success that counts." Inside, Christopher started fussing on the monitor. Lily's light clicked on, probably getting water. Normal evening sounds of a normal family doing normal things. Nothing extraordinary except that for both Jake and Tori, this ordinary life represented everything they thought they'd wanted forever. "I love you." The words came easy now, said so often they'd become ritual, but they never lost weight or meaning. "I love you too." Both versions. the scared girl I met at 19, and the powerful woman who broke down on a mountain road. Every version in between. They went inside together, tag-teaming the baby's middle-of-the-night routine with the practiced efficiency of parents who'd learned to function on minimal sleep. Christopher settled quickly, making little sounds of contentment. They stood by his crib, watching him sleep, marveling that something they'd created existed in the world. We should sleep while he's sleeping. Jake's practical suggestion warred with the desire to just keep watching their son breathe. One more minute. You always say one more minute, because every minute with him feels miraculous. Both of them, Lily and Christopher. This whole life feels miraculous. Jake wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder. Then let's stay for one more minute, appreciate the miracle. They stood in the darkness of their son's nursery, two people who'd lost each other and found their way back, who'd chosen love over fear and faith over certainty, who'd built something real from the wreckage of what could have been. Outside, Pine Ridge slept under stars that had witnessed their reunion. Inside, their children breathed steady and safe. Sometimes the stranger who stopped to help wasn't a stranger at all. Sometimes they were the answer you'd been searching for your entire life. The person who made you whole without ever demanding you be less than you were. Sometimes love wasn't about perfect timing or ideal circumstances. Sometimes it was about recognizing what mattered and fighting like hell to keep it. And sometimes, if you were very lucky and very brave, you got to keep them. Not because it was easy, but because you chose every day to show up, to stay, to love through the hard parts and the scary parts, and the parts that required more courage than you thought you had. Tori looked at the medal Christopher wore on a thin chain. St. Christopher, patron saint of travelers, protector of those on journeys. Jake had given it to her 15 years ago. She'd returned it when they reunited. Now it hung around their son's neck, passed down, continuing forward. Protection and promise, legacy and love. Everything worth having distilled into one small piece of silver. Okay, she finally relented. Let's sleep. They left the nursery door cracked, monitor volume turned up, and fell into bed exhausted. Jake's arm came around her automatically, her body fitting against his like pieces designed to connect. Sleep came easy these days, unmarred by loneliness or regret, or the haunting question of what if. Because what if had become what is, and what is was everything.